the other one as a speech, right? We have the other one as a speech. Okay, so that also tells you that for GBP we should have a whole lot of volatility because all these are high impact news. I did my filter for high impact and medium impact news, so this should actually give you a clear indication that we should be expecting high impact news on GBP, more volatility on GBP for today, right? We also have by 12:30 we have their Bank of England. Bank of England Governor Bailey will be speaking, right? So the governor of the Bank of England is actually going to be speaking by 12:30, right? So by 1:30 we have core PPI. Yesterday we had CPI, and though the way the results that CPI actually came out with was not so impressive, right? We had one news came out neutral on CPI yesterday, and the other one came out negative, and then the last one came out positive. So if you see how it played out in the market, the dollar actually lost a little bit of strength, right? The dollar actually sold, right, as I when the CPI started, because I was following the market when the news started. Gold actually pushed up, instrument like Euro USD actually pushed up, and then US index also actually gained a whole lot of strength. That's yesterday as a result of the weakening in the dollar because of the news. Then by so today by 1:30 we have PPI, right? PPI is a producer's price index, so that will be coming out by 1:30. We have core PPI and PPI. We have unemployment claims also will be coming out. Unemployment claims will be coming out also by that 1:30. So let's expect positive news. Since the one from yesterday came out negative, I expect that the US should actually do something about their poor data, right? I expect that the US should actually do something about their poor data and ensure that the though there's nothing for they are just bringing out the data results. Everything has already been played out. They are just giving us the result of what happened last month, though, right? So, but I still expect, though we all know that the US has actually been battling inflation and possible recession if they're not able to, if they keep increasing or hiking interest rates, which we all know that interest rates is a major tool for easing inflation. But when you overdo it, you open your economy to possible recession, right? So by 3:15, we have the FOMC member Waller will be speaking, right? That's actually a speech, not the data news, and that speech should at least give a good sentiment. Though it's a medium impact news, but at least it should give sentiment regarding the market also. Then by 6:01, which will be the last major news for the day, right? We have the 30 years bond action. What are bonds? Bonds are more like government contracts that are given to citizens, right? Expecting returns on probably on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. It depends. It's mostly on a monthly basis. So it's more like a tool that the government use in mopping out money from the economy. A tool the government use in mopping out money from the economy. So if there is so much money in circulation, the government can introduce probably a 30-year bond yield, or maybe a 50-year bond yield, whereby they tell you, okay, come buy bonds with the government with your huge or your bulk sum of money, and every month the government pays you dividend. Every month the government pays you dividend. So with that way, the government is able to mop out excess money in the economy, right? Also trying to regulate the currency inflow and outflow. You get. So when we all know when there's so much money in circulation, it leads to devaluation of that currency, and lesser circulation of a currency actually leads to scarcity, and scarcity is good for currency. It gives it that what I call it, that value. It gives it a higher value when it is scarce, right? So let's just dive into the chart. We're going to be looking at the first thing. So for you to get a clear direction as to what to do, I mostly used to look at dollar index. I'm going to be using MT5, right? I'm going to be using MT5 for this our analysis today. So let's quickly look at dollar index, USD IDX, USD IDX. So USD IDX is dollar index. That means the dollar against a basket of other currency, the dollar against a basket of other currency. For those that are not very used to the MT5, the MT5 is actually very, very, it's a smooth platform, though there are still some touches here and there that are being done on it, but it's a very beautiful platform compared to the MT4. People will say, what's the difference between the MT4 and the MT5? The difference is not so much, but when compared to the MT4, the MT5 has more of a more unique interface, right? And you have some some options that are available to the MT5 are quite worth it. You understand? So when you're on your MT5, you have more user-friendly platform. You have a more user-friendly platform on your MT5. It's actually a very smooth platform, and I advise you start looking into using the MT5 also. It's a very, very nice platform. So with this, you could easily just do one-click trading and the likes. Though you have that on MT4, but it's smoother on MT5. I can assure you that, right? So compared to other currency, you could see as at when the CPI came out yesterday, you could see that major drop in the dollar, and then the dollar actually started gaining strength. Don't forget, one news came out neutral, the other one came out negative, and one came out positive. So this is how it played out in the market. One came out negative, and then that sent negative sentiment at first, and then of course the dollar actually started having a rebound. And for this morning, you're actually seeing a boost up in the dollar because we have news coming out today, and of course whenever there is news, most of the time you get hit from positive sentiment, right? People are actually positive that, okay, it's the US, at least they should have something new, right? There should be improved data and all of that. So most times you get positive sentiment pending when the news actually now finally comes out, right? So against a basket of other currencies, the dollar is actually doing so well this morning, and that sentiment might actually continue until the news comes out. So that sentiment might actually continue until the news comes out. So let's check the general direction of the dollar index. The general direction of the dollar index has actually been more of a ranging. Yeah, you wouldn't say this is an uptrend nor a downtrend, because if you check it, it's actually been ranging in between this region and then this region. So it goes up, it comes down. That's on a 1 hour time frame. Let's look at it on a daily time frame. If you're looking at it on a daily time frame, it's more of, yeah, it's still a ranging market, right? On a daily time frame, you could see that it's still a ranging market, ranging in between this dollar mark, right? My dollar index has been reading in between this dollar mark here, and it has been, and here, right? So it's still a ranging market. So as at now, there's no clear direction as to the trend on the dollar index. But if you look at it today, because of the positive sentiment surrounding the dollar, and price has most likely broken above, it has broken above this resistance point, right? You could see this resistance point here. Though I wouldn't advise that you trade technically today on the dollar because of the fundamental coming out, right? You of course you should still look at technical analysis, but you shouldn't rely all your hopes on technical analysis because of the fundamentals coming out today, because that most likely would affect the market. So it might change the direction of the market like it did with CPI yesterday. It might change the direction of the market like it did with CPI yesterday. So that being said, let's quickly look at the first instrument, which is gold. The first instrument, which is gold. So you could see the way it played out yesterday when the news came out. I told you gold actually bought. I was following the CPI, and then something took me off my system. I just had to close my trade and go attend to it, right? So I was on that buy when the CPI actually first dropped. I was on that buy, and then I was able to close out my trade before the market started to rebound, right? And you could see gold is a very reactive instrument to the dollar, of course. So when that CPI came out negative for the dollar, gold actually used that opportunity to shoot in for a buy. And then as soon as that buy was played out, and the last news, of course, came out positive, that now sent positive sentiment pushing gold down. So for this morning, the dollar is now still strong, and gold is still pushing down. So gold has actually tested this support zone yesterday, and it is testing that point again. So you could see this struggle at this support zone. You could see this struggle at this support zone. So most likely, I still expect that gold should actually push down if it is able to comfortably break below this point, right? Gold should actually push down. My preference on gold this morning is a sell, right? My preference on gold this morning is a sell. So I would want to do this, right? So this would be my profit target. This would be my profit target. Though there is a little bit of a support here, a weak support, more like a weak support. Let me key that out so you could see that. So this is more of a weak support. So I still expect, because of the fundamental coming out, I expect price should break this support that gold is resting on, and also break that weak support, right? For this morning. So I use the yellow line to indicate that that is a weak support. So price is struggling around here. Should it break these points, there's every possibility it should break this other support, pushing down all the way to these points here. So my preference is a sell, like I said. So I would want to sell between this dollar mark. Once gold is able to break below 2024, that's 2024.15, then it's a clear direction for you to go in for your sell, right? Once gold is able to. So I discovered on my MT5, I think, okay, do I have shape arrows? Okay, I think unlike my MT4, I don't have those colored boxes, right? But we could still work with something, right? We could still work with something. Okay, so let's use this instead, since we don't have. Okay. Where is my text tool? Okay, so let me just mark out the price level for if you you could just do a screenshot. It's easier for you to do a screenshot so that you could mark out those regions when you're about to take your trade, right? It's easier for you to just do a screenshot so you can mark out those regions when you're about to take your trade, right? So like I said, my preference is a sell. If price is able to break below this sell point, right, you could go in for a sell regardless of this weak support because of the fundamental coming out today, and that should push gold all the way down, right? That should push gold all the way down to this point. So my risk zone, right? Of course, if I'm going in for a sell at this point, at this point here, my previous high should be my risk zone. So if price is should gold actually push into a buy, which is unlikely because of what is all set on the fundamental, right? Okay, let's use this. Stop loss should be red, so you get a clearer. Yeah, stop loss should be red, and let's follow how it is on the MT4. And then my take profit zone or my reward zone should be, let's mark that as green, right? Let's just follow how it is on the MT4, or when you're placing your trade on your phone. Let's just follow how it is. So you get, yes, line. Yeah, perfect. So this is my, yes, perfect. So if I'm going in for a sell, of course, this mark here, 2036.59 will be my bench for my risks, right? So I most likely will be having my stop loss around that zone. I most likely will be having my stop loss around that zone, right? And then my reward, cap will be, I start taking myself if price is able to comfortably break below here. So if price is able to break below here, I might want to start taking myself from this point here, right? If price is comfortably able to break below this support here, I'd want to take my sell from this point. So from here down to this point, you could see that that's roughly about 1,619 points. That's about 161 pips, 161 pip in take profit, right? So, and compared to what you're going to be risking on that trade, right? So you're actually going to be making more than you'll be risking on that trade, right? You're actually going to be making more than you'll be risking on that trade. So as soon as price breaks below here, and this is for my intraday traders, This is for my intraday traders. So for those that are looking to take a long-term trade, taking a long-term trade on gold at this point in time, because of the way the dollar has actually been going so far, right? It's been gaining strength, losing strength, gaining strength, losing strength, and that's because of this their inflation worries. So today they get ravaged by inflation. Tomorrow they increase interest rates, and of recent, there've been talks that they are going to ease down on their continuous increase or their aggressive increase in interest rates, right? So they are actually going to be having just two more major interest rate hike. I think from now to the end of the year, according to what I read, right? Just two more aggressive interest rate hike, and that should be it, so that the economy doesn't fall totally into recession. So, and if you notice, the last interest rate, the last time they did the interest rates, this thing, it wasn't the increase wasn't so massive, right? It wasn't so massive, though it still gave a boost to the dollar, but the dollar is still suffering. And we also know that there are some other forces actually against the dollar at this point in time. We have the BRICS alliance also threatening the strength of the dollar at this point in time. But regardless, the US has always proven itself to be a strong economy, and it will still continue at that. I think it will still take a lot to bring down the US economy as the world reserve currency. Okay, it will still take a lot. So there is still hope for the dollar, and we should still have our faith in the dollar. So if you look at the trend on a long term, right? If you look at this trend on a long term, you could see that the gold has actually been actually bounced off a resistance point here, and you could see most of the candlestick formation here is setting in for a new trend, which is a downtrend on gold, right? For the past that started late last month. That was roughly around the 26th, 27th of April. We started getting more of a downtrend on gold after this major push up, after gold actually got this major boost from the weakness in the dollar last month. The dollar was extremely low. I think it had its lowest point low last month, but this month it's actually gaining a little bit of a boost, and we should see gold actually react to that by pushing down. So if you're going for a long-term trade on gold, I advise you actually sell gold, but be cautious, right? Because you also know that some countries are actually looking at buying gold in large demand. Like last month we had and one of the things that actually contributed to this high spike in gold was as a result of the high demand for gold, because a lot of countries are looking at getting their Federal Reserve a lot of countries are actually looking at backing their currency. Sorry, they're looking at backing up their currency with gold and oil, right? With gold and oil. So we had large demand for gold as a last month, but I don't think that will play out this month. So if you're looking at going in for a long-term trade, looking at the candlestick formation, you might want to go in for a long-term sell. Right? You might want to go in for a long-term sell all the way down to this support here, right? All the way down to this support here, a long-term sell all the way down to this support here. I believe those that are looking at intraday trades, I believe they took that they took a screenshot of the previous trade, right? Let's go back to a 1 hour time frame. In case you didn't take a screenshot, this is my intraday analysis on gold. So I expect that you should take your sell if price is able to break below this point, right? Then your risk cap should be at around this 2036.59. Get that, 2036.59. So your risks should be around that point. When I say risks, I'm talking about your stop loss. You could put your stop loss around that zone at 2036.9. It shouldn't be on that figure, because don't forget that figure is on my resistance point. So it should be probably somewhat after the resistance, depending on your risk appetite, or before that resistance, right? So anywhere in between this region could serve as your stop loss, right? While I'm targeting my take profit as soon as price is able to break below this my support zone, right? Below this my support zone. So I probably want to start at this region, down to this take profit. I could do take profit 1 and take profit 2, depending on the volatility at which the news actually gives today. So I still expect a bearish market on gold. That's for an intraday trade. If you're going in intraday, looking at what the market is actually doing. So for long-term traders, of course, I said you might want to stick your neck for a long-term trade. When I say long-term, a lot of people do. When you place long-term trade, you expect results in a day, 2 days, sometimes in a week, right? So when you're saying long-term trade, I'm talking about a month. You get, so a month. You're looking at long-term trade a month, not a day, not a week, right? I'm looking at the general direction of the market in a month, because I'm looking at a daily time frame. Each candle forms every day, and of course, if I'm looking at price hitting from this point down to this support, it will take a couple number of days for price to actually hit this point. So if you're going in for a long-term trade, you need to be patient. Patience to be one of your greatest virtue, and I can assure you, you're actually going to hit your reward mark if you're patient. And of course, you don't take long-term trades if you don't have good capitals. I don't call long-term trades for people that are trading with, let's say, a 100K account or 200K account. Of course, if you're taking long-term trade, you're going in with good volume and a good lot size, right? And ensure that you are able to milk the market as much as the market is moving in that direction. You get me? So for those that are actually going to be entering in between the hour, for those that are actually going to be entering in between the hour, I'm talking about scalpers now. I'm talking about scalpers. If you're a scalper, you could also take advantage of this market, right? Let me take out all these noisy distractions so we could look at scalping positions real quick. We could look at scalping positions. So don't tell me you don't know what scalping is. If you're in this class and you don't know what scalping is, then you need to go back to your drawing board, or you need to go back to classes, right? So scalping is you're looking at sniper entries. I call it sniper entries in terms of entering quick market direction. You're looking at entering instant execution, targeting the next 2, 3, at most 5 pips, and you're out. You could do that multiple times. You make your money from the market and you're out for the day, right? So like I said, my general preference for this instrument is a sell. So I most likely will be looking for more of a sell position, looking at it fundamentally, right? Price is being rejected at this support, rejection 1, rejection 2. I wouldn't want to go in for a buy, because if I go in for a buy, there's every possibility that you push in for a buy and then price starts selling because of the fund. Like I said, I am basing my analysis on the fundamentals coming out today, and most likely the dollar is actually going to be winning the market today because of the fundamental, right? The sentiment leading to the fundamental, and then should it come out positive, of course, you should still get that sentiment continue driving down. So for this morning, I expect that price would actually range in between this region, right? I expect that price would actually range in between this region. So what I want us to do is, as a scalper, I wouldn't want to go in for, because this is my 15 minutes time frame, I wouldn't want to go in for a sell immediately, because if price doesn't break below here, entering a sell will be a fix for you. So what I want to do is, I want price to actually bounce off this support zone down to this point, back to my resistance. So if price bounce from my support back to this resistance, I start scalping my support from I start scalping my sell from the resistance at the top. It's going to be a more reliable strategy than trying to key into the buy. You get it will be a more reliable strategy than trying to key into the buy. In case you sleep and then price starts going in the general trend direction, right? In case you sleep and price starts going in the general trend direction, you're not found wanting. So I wouldn't want to just key into the buy now. I would want to wait until price actually. So what I'll be doing is, I'll be doing more of a sell limit. I'll be doing more of a sell limit. Like, I put my sell limit around this zone. So let me mark my reward. So I start selling from here. This will be my sell zone, and the top here. So from here to here, let's mark that in red and green like we did with the last one. Let's mark that in red and green. This is red. So this to this point, right? To this point here will be my risk zone, to this point here, right? So this from here to here within my 2036.17 or let's say 2032.12 to 2036.17. All that part is my risk zone. So I could, yeah, so if price is able to go into that region, I could start taking a buy from that point. Don't forget, I'm in the market. So I want price to bounce off this support, go back to my jump into the market myself from my resistance. I don't know. Okay, I think my mic broke. I said I want to go. I don't want to jump into a buy now, right? I'd rather wait for price to go and test my resistance. I'd rather wait for price to go and test my resistance, right? I'd rather wait for price to go and test my resistance and then start picking my sell from my resistance, because the safest thing you can do as a trader is sell at the resistance, buy at the support. It's one of the basic rules. Sell at the resistance, buy at the support. So you sell when price is high, right? And you buy when price is low. It's the logic of buying and selling anywhere, anytime in the world. So you sell when price is high. When price has risen to a high figure, you sell off to make profit, and you buy when price is low, right? You buy when price is low. So of course, using that principle, I want to sell as soon as price hits this high point, this high rejection point, my resistance, and then I'll sell from that point, right? And then once price starts coming back down, from here down to this point is going to be my scalping take profit zone, right? For all the way here. So I have about 1009 points for me to scalp. That's about 109 pip. 100 and no, that's yeah, that's about 100 pip of scalping pips, about 100 scalping pips to go. I have about 100 scalping pips, so it's more profitable than trying to key into a buy, and then once price hits your resistance, you're being thrown out of the market, right? So um so yeah, my risk zone will be about that's about 300 and 383 points. That's about 38 pips. So this is my risk zone, 38 pip, compared to what I'm targeting in the market, which is about 100 pip. So 38 pip in risks compared to 100 pip in profit, which you're actually going to be targeting, right? So that's being said, that's on gold. Let's look at Euro USD. Let's look at Euro USD. Let's look at Euro USD. So for Euro USD, you could see how it played out. I showed you Euro USD chart yesterday, earlier on, how it played out yesterday. When the CPI came out, we had this positive sentiment for the euro, because the euro actually gained strength because the dollar, not that the euro was strong, right? Not that the euro was strong, but we had this long candlestick because the dollar actually came out not so good, right? And as soon as when the last news came out and people saw it was positive, of course, investors now restored their faith in the dollar, and that gave this major drop down, right? And that has continued. And you could see categorically here that price has actually broken this support zone. So most likely we might continue to see. So price just broke this support the previous hour, and it's heading to the next support. So if I'm looking for an intraday trade on this instrument, of course, my preference on this instrument is actually going to be a sell, right? My preference on this instrument is actually going to be a sell. So I'm looking for the next support. So let me just go to a higher time frame to get the next support. Okay, so going to the next time frame, this is my next support here, right? This is my next support. You can see price tested this zone here once and tested this zone here a second time. So if you're going in for this instrument, you might want to do an instant execution. You could go in for an instant sell on this instrument down to this point, right? And ensure you're out of the market before the news actually comes out. So price has broken below here, so I expect it to come all the way down to test this to test this support zone. I expect it to test this support zone, and if the news comes out and it is still in favor of the dollar, that should push price all the way down to the next support. That should push price all the way down to the next support. Let me take out my trend lines. Right, let me take out my trend line. So I would have this for my intraday trade. I'd have taken my, this is I'll look at taking an instant sell, quick one. Also, you could also scalp this too. You could also scalp your sell on this too. This also goes for those that are going to be trading, that are going to be taking a scalp. You might actually want to scalp a sell on this particular market position, right? Because you could see price has actually broken below this support zone here, and though it's consolidating around here, but whenever you see consolidation like that, you're looking for most likely a breakout, right? And because of the way the pattern is here, price, this resistance is unlikely that price breaks above this resistance again. It should come down to this support to test it before pushing up. So I'm going to be actually scalping a sell, right? So the best thing will be price. Can you hear me? Okay. So up here, you scalp your sell down to this support, right? Once it is rejected from that point again, you could scalp. So you keep scalping from your resistance, keep scalping yourself. Always scalp from your if you're going in for a sell, if you're scalping a sell, ensure that you're scalping yourself from a resistance point. And if you're scalping your buy, ensure that you're scalping your buy as soon as price is hitting off a support point. So this point here, I'd want to wait until price tests my resistance at the top and start scalping a sell. So I could go in multiple sells on this particular thing, expecting price to actually push down. I could go in multiple sells as soon as price hits my resistance. So that resistance is around 1.09391. So I want to go for a sell around that point, scalp multiple sells. So you could do multiple entries with this particular strategy. You could do multiple entries with this particular strategy, and your benchmark for stopping will be at around 1.09090. So as soon as price gets here, so let me do this. Right, let me do this. So this should be my okay, that is red, and this should be green. This should be green, right? This should be my lime green. So this point is my more of a reward zone. This point is my risk zone. So if you're looking at, in case you sleep on your scalp, in case you sleep on your scalp, of course your benchmark for holding that trade should be at around this point. So if price goes above this point, you shouldn't consider holding that trade anymore, because a lot of us hold unnecessary trades. You hold trades unnecessarily, right? So this is right. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Can you all hear me now? Okay. So okay, sorry about that. I think my network just went off for a bit. So of course, a lot of us hold unnecessary trade. You shouldn't be holding unnecessary trade. So this is my risk zone, right? As soon as price is able to break above this point, I consider holding that trade anymore. You just need to close your losses and move on, right? You just cut the losses and what you move on, right? So that's for a scalping trade. So I already said for intraday, I'm also in for a sell, because price has, despite the fact that price, I still expect that price should actually come down and hit this my support mark. So I have two take profits. I have to take profit zone for this particular thing. So I went to a 4-hour time frame. I went to looking at it on a 4-hour time frame, though. Okay. So I noticed while we were speaking, let's go back to a 1-hour time frame here. Okay. All right. So let me take out this. So if you're looking at the next support, because I couldn't find the next support on a 1 hour time frame, I had to go to a 4 hour time frame to get the next support. So the next support is around 1.09 090 1.09090. So from there all the way down here should be a good. So I'm going to be sticking out for a sell preference on Euro USD. You could decide to enter now, right, and ride the market all the way down. So this is my reward zone. This is my reward zone. So I'm targeting roughly about 300 and that's 33 pips because it's Euro USD. That's about 33 pips. 33 pips compared to what I'll be risking, which is about 15 pip. So that's roughly about 1:2. My risk is 1:2. So I'm risking one reward, my reward should be 2, right? So 15:30, yeah, that's 1:2 on my risk to reward. On my risk to reward ratio. So if I'm looking at a long-term trade on Euro USD, right? If I'm looking at a long-term trade on Euro USD, the Euro zone on its own has not been doing so well. And if you're looking at it technically, right? Let's take out all of these jargons. We're done with it. So if you're looking at looking now for a long-term trade on Euro USD for my long-term traders, I'd want to do this because Eurozone has not actually been doing so well. They've just been getting that wave from the fact that the dollar has actually been poor, right? That's last month and that the whole of March, right? April, March, the dollar didn't do so well. So it's not like the euro itself is doing remarkably well, and that's why they are gaining strength. You are just seeing this major spike up as a result of the poor earning on the dollar. So from what I've seen so far, policies around the US is actually sending positive sentiment on the dollar, and should it continue like that, of course I'm expecting a downplay, and you could see that price has actually tested this mark. That's 1.10815. Price has actually tested this mark a couple of times. It has tested that point that's 1, 2, 3 times. Yes, that's 3 times, right? So 3 rejection at the highest peak on the chart is a clear indication that price is actually going to fall. Though that fall has started, and you could still key into that fall all the way down to this point, right? So like I said, long-term trades is not for the faint-hearted, and you don't expect results in a day. You don't expect results in sometimes a week. You might not see the result, but in the long term, it should actually play out that sell. So this would be my reward zone if you're going in for a long-term trade on Euro USD. This should be my reward zone if you're going in for a long-term trade on Euro USD. So I'd want to, as soon as price falls below this mark, because this is also a support zone, right? But not as strong as the one at the bottom here. So if price falls below this mark, I'd want to go in for a sell on Euro USD on a long term, targeting roughly about that's roughly about 3,000. Yes, that's about 3,000, 3,040 points. So I'll be targeting roughly about 344 pips. I'll be targeting roughly about 344 pips. So on Euro USD, you could know you know that that's massive on Euro USD, and then my risk zone will be capped at roughly about 180, right? 180. So you could keep, in as much as price is still around this region, you could still keep looking out for a sell. In as much as price is around this region here, you could keep looking out for a sell. Okay, so someone is asking about boom and crash. Boom and crash are synthetic index. They don't have fundamental backing. So if you're trading boom and crash in this time and era, you're on your own, because those things they are not backed by anything. They are not backed by the news. So you're just looking at technical analysis, and of course there's always room for manipulation of the markets. I traded boom and crash, and I know how it was. So if you're a good technical trader, you'll be able to make money from boom and crash. But I can tell you it can easily be manipulated in a market where nothing is driving it. then you know that there's always room for ojoro, like Nigerians would call it, right? So that's my preference for Euro USD for long-term trades. That's my preference for Euro USD for long-term trade. So let's quickly look at another instrument. Let's look at USD JPY. Let's look at USD JPY, right? For USD JPY, we've actually seen that. Let's look at what happened yesterday on USD JPY. I think more of the same thing actually played out for the dollar. This is on a 4-hour time frame. Let's go to a 1-hour time frame so we could see what happened yesterday. So yesterday we also had this major push down of the dollar. The JPY has not been so good. You could see the general direction on USD JPY has actually been a downtrend, a clear downtrend. That has been the general direction, though price actually ranged around this point for a while. From the 4th of May, was it from the 5th of May, around the 5th of May down to yesterday, before price was able to break below that point, right? And most likely, and we had this major push up because of the morning session. Early hours of the morning, we have the Asian sessions, and of course, you should expect that the JPY will gain boost around that point. But as soon as the New York market opens, that's little bullish move would quickly be covered up, especially today that we have fundamental on dollar. So I'll still, despite the fact that the market is actually buying now, right, I still expect that USD JPY should actually still sell. Right. So like I told you, the general principle is to buy at a high point and take your profits at a low point. So I'm looking at buying, the general principle is to sell rather at a high point, right? Don't get that mixed up. The general principle is to sell at a high point. So most likely at one price, because if you check here, this place has been a support 1, support 2, support 3, support 4. So this is actually a very, very good support, which has now become a resistance for price, right? Because of the CPI yesterday, price was able to break below this support, and now that point is serving as a resistance. So the likelihood of price breaking above this resistance now is unlikely, right? It's unlikely. So what I'd want to do is, of course, I'd want to be targeting in for a sell, and it's even good now because price is even approaching that resistance point. You could see prices are actually approaching that resistance point. So now will be a good opportunity for you to start keying into your sell. Now will be a good opportunity to start keying into your sell, targeting this low point as your take profit, right? Targeting this low point. So I'd want to go in for a sell. You could do an instant sell, despite the fact that the market is buying now, because it's going to hit this support, this resistance, this turncoat support, which is now in resistance, and start coming back down. So it's a good opportunity for you to start keying into your sell and expect that price will hit this point and start coming down, right? You could do an instant execution, or if you're a cautious trader, you could decide to wait until that reversal starts happening, right? It's two ways. You could either key into your sell now, or you could wait for price to hit that support, that resistance point at the top, and start coming down. So it's two options for you, right? But in as much as price is in between this zone, you can still keep hitting your sell, looking at the fundamentals coming out today. So in as much as price is in this region, you can keep hitting your sell, right? You can keep hitting your sell. Of course, I'd want to keep my benchmark for my risk low. So of course, if price is able to if price breaks above this point, then I know I shouldn't be holding on to that trade anymore. So I'd want to mark out this point. I want to mark out this point at the top here, right? Though this is wide, and don't forget your stop loss can be anywhere in between, depending on your risk appetite. Your stop loss can be anywhere in between this region. Let me make that red so you could actually get a clear perception of what I'm talking about. So let me make this red also. So look at what I'm saying. Price, I'm expecting to sell from this resistance point at this point here, expecting that price will actually come down. So in as much as price is still in this region, you could still hold in your sell trade, expecting that the fundamental should still push price down. But if price breaks above here, you don't have any business holding on to that sell. You just cut your losses and move on, right? You cut your losses and move on. But my preference on this instrument is sorry, this USD JPY, right? USD JPY, yeah. So if price is able to break, yeah, so you might actually want to just key into that, and then I wouldn't give a long-term trade, a long-term direction on this market. I wouldn't want to give a long-term direction on this market, because USD JPY is one instrument that is not really very stable. Today it goes up, today it comes down, though it's a one-directional trade, but I wouldn't. And one thing about the JPY that I know, despite the fact that the dollar can be strong sometimes. Sometimes you just get that push on the JPY and you really can't tell why it is actually pushing that strong or not, right? So let's look at USD card. Let's look at USD card. I've not traded USD card in a while. Let's look at USD card. USD card. So for USD card, let's put this and okay. So we'll look at USD card and then we'll look at indices and then call it a day. For USD card, we've actually been having price ranging, right? I expect positive sentiment on the dollar, like I've been saying since the beginning of the class. So I expect that price should actually push up, right? Price should actually push up. But do I want to enter the market now? The question is, my answer is no. Do I want to enter the market now? My answer is no, because I'd want price to comfortably break above this point. I want price to actually break above the point. So if I'm going in for an intraday trade, I just have to wait until price break above this my resistance point here, expecting that the fundamental from the this thing from the dollar should actually push the dollar up. But to be on the safe side, this would be my profit targets. This would be my profit target. So I look at taking a trade if price breaks into this my profit target here. If price breaks into my profit targets here, this should be my reward target. And then, of course, if price is able to break below these points, of course, I have no business still holding on to that trade, right? So I'm also trying to give you, because as a trader, you also need to measure your risks to reward, right? You need to measure your risk to reward and also find out, is my risk worth it? If I'm taking this trade, is it worth the risk or not? Some persons will keep their stop loss way wider than their take profit. So if my stop loss is way wider than my take profit, you should know that that kind of trade is not an ideal trade for you to key into. So if you look at it, price has actually been supported at this point for quite a while, even before the previous support at the bottom. I wouldn't wait for price to come all the way down before deciding to cut my trade out, right? So I want to ensure that this was a this used to be a resistance point, which is now serving as a support. So I'd want to put my stop loss around this region. So anywhere around this region could serve as my stop loss. And as soon as price is able to break above here, right? So this would be my reward zone. So if you're calculating that, this should be roughly about, so on my take profits, this should be roughly about 95 pips, 95 pips. That's roughly about 100 pips. And then my stop loss anywhere around here. So my stop loss zone is anywhere around my 49 pip, right? Anywhere around 49 pips. That's also a 1:2 risk to reward ratio. That's 1:2. My risk to reward margin is 1:2 on this particular trade also, right? My risk is lower than what I intend, right? So that's for an intraday. That's for an intraday trade on USD card, right? I'd also not be looking at for a long-term trade on USD card. I think there is good opportunity for a long-term trade on USD card, because you could see that USD card is actually bouncing off a support, right? I like when price is actually bouncing off a support, because it gives me room for a good long-term trade. And you could see that price has actually gotten a triple bottom here, bottom 1, bottom 2, bottom 3, right? Whenever you have a triple bottom, people call it a W or something, right? A W or something, but this is a triple bottom, bottom 1, right? Bottom 2, right? Bottom 3. So most likely what you're going to be expecting on this instrument is a buy, right? Is a buy. So you're looking at price shooting up, and of course sentiment is positive for the dollar at this point in time. So I'd want to go in for a buy on a long term, and want to go in for a buy or a long time, I expect price should actually do this bounce. And if you see the previous candle, you have dojis, you have a couple of dojis on your this thing. You have a hammer, you have your inverted hammer, and then you have your long leg, more like a long leg doji, all sitting on your support zone, right? And then if this candle closes bullish, of course, you have your bullish confirmation candle for your buy trade, right? You have your bullish confirmation candle for your buy trade. So I expect that price should actually shoot up on this particular instrument, and it's at a support. How much more lucky can you get, right, on this particular chart? So of course, if price breaks below this point, my risk zone will be, let's go to a weekly time frame to get the next supports, right? On the weekly time frame, are we getting another support zone? Let's see, let's zoom that in a bit. So on a weekly time frame, is there any other support zone? I think that is. So I might just want to target, since I'm not getting any other support below that region, what I'd want to do is I probably want to keep my risks low, right? I probably want to keep my risks low. I could actually do 61 pip in stop loss. I could do 61 pips in stop loss. So I could put my stop loss anywhere below this region. Anywhere below this region could serve my stop loss, because this is my support. My stop loss would want to be below this region. So anywhere below this region could serve as my stop loss, right? That should be dependent on your risk appetite. And then, of course, my take profit on this long-term trade should be at the resistance at the top here. So compared to, because this is a long-term trade, of course, you're expecting bigger reward, right? So I'm targeting about 354 pip in take profits compared to what I'm risking in stop loss, right? Compared to what I'm risking in stop loss. That's about 70 or 60. Like I said, it could be anywhere. So it could just be a very short one, a very close one, or you could bring it all the way down to ensure that if you have a good capital, you could still stretch your risks up a little, right, to roughly about 70 pip. But I'm targeting 300 and 359 pip in take profit, 70 pip in stop loss, right? So that's a fair deal for a long-term trade on USD CAD, right? So let's go to indices. Let's look at US 100, one of my favorite instruments, US 100. So US 100 is actually consolidating this morning, right? In terms of having more of a ranging market. That's a consolidating market. You have price actually forming dojis, hammers, dojis, just very, very, very short candle. And that's because of the news coming out later on in the day. So you might actually still see this consolidation pending on when that news comes out, right? You might see this consolidation pending on when this news actually comes out. So what I want to do, because this is index, right? This is index. You're not saying, and it's a US index. You're not saying, okay, it's going to be completely positive for the dollar, right? Because this is US index. We just have to wait until that news comes out before you get a clear direction. So what I want to do is I want to ensure that I'm making profits regardless. I'm making profit regardless of what the news is going to do. So this will be my risk zone. So on this instrument, I'm going to be having two reward zones, right? On this instrument, because you could, if you see it, price is ranging, and whenever price is ranging, you're expecting a breakout. That's what we call the breakout strategy trading, right? So if price is ranging, I'm expecting a breakout. So breakouts can either be to the upside or to the bottom side. It can either be to the top side or to the bottom side. So if I want to key into that, of course, this should be my risk zone, right? In between this region could be my risk zone. And should the news come out positive for the dollar, expect that stock should actually sell. So my reward zone for US 100 should be around this point here, right? So I'm targeting all this all the way here. So if price drops in between if price drop below this region, I'd want to go in for my sell, right? If price drop below this region, that's if it comes out positive for the dollar and price drops below this region, I want to go in for a sell. I want to go in for a sell intraday. I want to go in for a sell intraday. And if it comes out positive if it comes out negative for the dollar, I expect that stock should actually push up. So I want to go to a higher time frame to get the next resistance at the top. So the next resistance at the top is quite high. So let's check on a daily time frame also. On a daily time frame also. So stocks has actually been at is actually at the highest point it has been for a while now, right? So what I would want to do is to target in pips, right? Since I'm not seeing a take profit based on the structure of the market, I would want to now target in pip. I would want to target in pip. So what I do is I'll target an equivalent amount of pip as to what I have on my sell trade. Right, I'll target an equivalent amount of pip as to what I have on my sell trade. So on my sell trade, I have roughly about 1,510 pips. 1,510 pips. I have about 1,510 pips. So I want to target that equivalent on my buy trade. So targeting 1,510 pip, 1,510 pip. We'll stretch it down a little. 1,510 people will be somewhere around here. So let's say somewhere around 1,510 people. That's a price level 1, 2, just somewhere around here. Let me just put my horizontal line here. 1,510 people. Let's bring that down a bit. Let's use the crosshair to recalculate that. 1,700. Let's bring it down a little. Bring it down a little. So 1,500 is 1,300, but it's still fair, it's still close, right? So if you're to now zoom in and stretch your chart out, you have something like this. So of course, I wouldn't be taking my risks in this point. In as much as price is ranging in between these points, I wouldn't be taking a trade there. That's my risk zone. That's my risk zone. I wouldn't be taking my trade in between these points here. I wouldn't be taking my trade in between these points here. I want a clear breakout. So if price breaks out above here, in as much as you come maybe in the afternoon when the news comes out, in as much as price is in between this region, I can keep going in for a buy. I can do multiple buys. I could take one stretch buy with a very good lot size, a standard lot. As long as price is in between this my profit zone, I can keep hitting my buy. And if it's going down, if the news comes up positive for the dollar, right, you expect that stock should drop. And in as much as price is below this point, right, I can keep hitting my sell. So that's for index, right? I wouldn't want to take a sell in between. I wouldn't want to take either a buy or a sell in between this point, right? So if you're scalping this instrument, right? If you are scalping this instrument, same thing too, I would advise you, don't scalp now, right? Don't scalp now. Wait until price breaks above or below those points before you start scalping, right? So it's not on every chart that you get an instant execution. It's not on every chart you get an instant execution. And this is an example of one of those charts. So I'd want to scalp in for a buy if price breaks above my range, right? And then I can keep hitting the lot for my buy. And I want to scalp in for a sell if price breaks below this point. Like I said, fundamentals are coming out, and that would to a large extent determine the direction of the market, right? So let's wrap that up with the last instrument, which is going to be US 2000, and then we'll call that a day. US 2000, right? Perfect. So for US 2000, most times you would notice that US stocks actually move in the same direction most times, right? So if you're able to analyze one, you should get entries for all, right? If you're able to analyze one, you should get entries for all US stocks. The same thing with your US 2000. You also have that range also playing out on your 1 hour time frame, right? So let's just quickly dive into it. If I'm doing this, right, let's make this red. Let's make this red. Okay, so if I'm doing this, I want to wait for price to break above this my range, right? And you could see that price actually ranged in between that region before. Price has done that around the 8th of May. Price has ranged in between that region before around the 8th of May. So I wouldn't want to take a trade in that region. I want a clear breakout from that point before I go in for either my sell or a buy. And depending on the market direction so if I'm going in for a short-term trade, or if I'm going in as a scalper, I want price to break either above or below, right? A lot of persons will argue that yes, but we can actually scalp in between this point. Yes, it's possible you scalp in between this point. Like now, like I told you, you scalp a buy, right? You scalp a buy from a low point, you scalp a sell from a high point. So if I'm going in for instant execution now and I want to just play my luck in between this region, if I want to play my luck in between this region, of course, it will be a good opportunity to hit an instant sell, right? Scalp a sell down to this support, and then from this support, I scalp a buy back up. But it's going to be very, 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 very short trades. You're entering instant execution now. As soon as price comes down to this support, you cut out, and then you're playing around this region. You're just playing around this region, up, down, up, down. But you need to know what you're doing. If you need to trade like that, you need to know what you're doing. If you need to trade like that, and you need to be very fast. You need to be fast. Accuracy is key. So if let's take for example, I'm going in, and this is a good opportunity. I also would like to take a good distance on that 0.10, right? Like I said, I scalp with good lot size. If I'm going in for my sell, I just quickly, so I'm just targeting very, very little take profits, and out of that market. Very, very little take profits, and I'm out of the market. That's roughly about 22,000 naira. So if I'm able to do that 2 or 3 times, I'm out of the market. As soon as price comes to this point at the bottom, I key in for my buy. And in as much as price is ranging in between that point, you can keep scalping the market that way. You can keep scalping the market. But if you're looking for a more or a clearer direction, if you're looking for a clearer direction, you would want to wait until price breaks either above or below that region. Then you go in for a buy, depending on the direction of the news, right? Depending on the direction of the news. So for scalpers, you can make money this morning. For intraday traders and possibly long-term traders, you want to wait for this to play out, right? So my take profit zone will be around here. My take profit zone should be around here. Let's make this green. Yes. And then at the top here, let's also make it green. Because it's fundamental, there's every possibility it will bust through my take profit. Because it's fundamental, there's every possibility to bust through that take profit. But what I'm saying is, in as much as price is in between that region, you could take action. As long as price falls in between this region, you can start taking in your sell, right? You can start taking your sell. Or if price breaks into this region, you can start taking in your buy, right? You can start taking in your buy, right? So to be safe, it depends on what you're looking out for. If you're looking out for quick entries, you could play in between that this risk region, going in for a sell as soon as price now price is at my resistance point. You could play in your sell at your resistance, and then price push to your support, you play in your buy. You could keep doing that, scalping the market and making little along the way, depending on when the news comes out. So you don't just stay idle. At least make something this morning before the news actually now comes out, right? So that brings us to the end of the money market review. I hope we make good profit from the market. Look out for PPI. And also, if you're still trading at a very low level, I don't think you should still be doing that as at now. A lot of persons have actually been making good money from the market, and you can be one of those persons, right? So the goal to this market is having good equity in your account. And I can assure you, with good lot sizing compared to what you have in your account, you will definitely be making consistent profits, right? Don't stretch yourself so high, right? Set realistic targets. Always set realistic target. If I have £1 million, a realistic target for me on a daily basis can be 50,000 naira. It's realistic, right? In a scenario where you're looking to make everything in one day, you might shoot yourself in the leg. And also, don't be scared to take risks. Don't be scared to take risks, right? In as much as you are taking calculated risks, don't be scared to take calculated risks, right? You go in, hit that lot size, enter as many trades. I tell people, trade signals don't give you all the money you want, right? You need to be able to analyze the market yourself, and you need to be certain as to when to enter the market. That's why we try as much as possible to carry you through this training, right? We try as much as possible to show you how these analyses are being done. And with the way I've actually given out my analysis this morning, in as much as probably you left and you came back, in as much as you see price playing around this your profit zone, you can still key into it, right? You can still key into it. For those that are asking what time the fundamentals are coming out, please follow that update on forexfactory.com. Follow that update on forexfactory.com. I love you all, and till we meet again, do have a wonderful day. You're welcome. Thank you. Mm.